Welcome to Creepy Talks. Story 1, The Invitation. I never liked long drives. The road did something strange to people, made them reckless, restless, convinced them the world outside their window wasn't the same one they left behind. I always thought it was just the monotony playing tricks on the mind, until I learned that some roads don't lead anywhere at all. They only take. It started in the summer of 2019, the first one after we finished college. My best friend Evan claimed we needed one last adventure before becoming adults. The plan was simple: 4 states, 7 days, no destination more important than the road itself. He convinced our other friend Mara, too. They wanted an escape. I just didn't want to be left behind. We borrowed Evan's uncle's car, a silver Ford Explorer with rust curling around the edges. The interior smelled faintly of cigarettes and pine, and the radio was stuck on a local station that faded in and out every few miles. Its age didn't bother us. It felt right, like the kind of thing used in old legends, vehicles that carried people far from home, deeper into the unknown. Our families waved goodbye early that Thursday morning. The sky was pale blue, almost washed out, and the sun was hidden behind a thin curtain of clouds. An omen I should have recognized. Evan drove first. Music blared so loud the mirrors vibrated. Mara twirled her hair in the passenger seat while I sprawled across the back, tracing shapes in the fogged-up window. For the first 3 hours it was normal. Fast food wrappers, terrible jokes, unfamiliar highways. Then the GPS began to freeze. At first it lagged. Then it spun in circles. Finally, it simply insisted we take State Highway 191. We hadn't planned to. In fact, none of us had ever heard of it. "It's probably faster," Evan shrugged. Mara leaned forward, tapping the screen. "There's no time estimate." "That's weird," I should have said something then. Should have told them to stick to the route, not to deviate. But there was something about that road number, 191, that felt familiar. Something I'd read, maybe, or dreamed. We merged onto it just after 2 p.m. The change was immediate. The highway narrowed into a 2-lane road with no dividing lines. Forest pressed in close on both sides, branches arching overhead like bones of some ancient creature. The sunlight dimmed into a greenish haze. The air felt thicker. No other cars, coming or going. "Okay, creepy," Mara muttered, pulling her knees to her chest. But Evan laughed. "It's just rural." "We're fine," I didn't believe him. The radio static drowned the music completely. When Evan turned the knob, searching for a station, a low voice pulsed through the speakers, broken, rhythmic, almost like chanting. "Stop it," Mara snapped. "I didn't do anything," Evan protested. He switched it off, but the silence that followed felt worse, deep and heavy, like being underwater. We drove another 40 minutes without speaking, each of us pretending not to notice the way the forest seemed to fold inward behind us, swallowing the road we'd come from. The sky grew darker, though it was still early afternoon. Eventually, a sign appeared on the side of the road, not metal but wood, as if carved by hand. "Welcome to Osward, Pop, 643. The word Osward rang inside my head like a bell. I'd never heard it before, yet it felt like a memory. "What town is this?" Mara asked. Evan slowed the car. "Never heard of it." "Me neither," I whispered. The town emerged around a bend. Old buildings with sagging roofs, cracked windows, and sun-bleached paint. A gas station stood at the entrance, the old kind with pumps that looked like museum pieces. A faded sign read, "Fuel, rest, food." But there were no prices, no movement, no people, just a stillness that made my skin crawl. "We need gas," Evan said, the needle hovering dangerously close to empty. "We should keep driving," I said quickly. There isn't another station for miles, he replied. His words felt wrong. How could he know that? We pulled in. The gas station looked abandoned. No lights, no attendant. But the pump display flickered when Evan lifted the handle, and the pump wheezed as if breathing. He slid his card in. Nothing. Dead. It wants cash, he said. Of course it did. I watched the tree line. Shadows moved, but there was no wind. Just hurry, I said. While he pumped, Mara went inside the small convenience store. The bell above the door gave a broken chime. I saw her silhouette through the dusty glass drifting between shelves. Minutes passed. Too many. Is she okay? I asked. Evan frowned. Go check. I didn't want to, but I pushed the door open. A smell hit me, old wood, mold, and something metallic underneath. Mara, I called. No response. The store felt frozen in time. Products decades old sat on crooked shelves. Cans rusted. Bags puffed with air, like they'd never been opened. A fridge hummed weakly in the back. Mara! I tried again, louder. A figure appeared at the end of the aisle. Too tall, head tilted, clothes draped like wet cloth. My chest tightened. Mara, I whispered. The figure stepped closer. It wasn't her. I stumbled back, heart hammering. The light flickered once, twice. The door slammed behind me. Evan, I screamed. Something turned the corner. Not Mara, not human. Its face. Story 2. The store. Its face was the first thing that broke me. It wasn't monstrous, nothing cinematic. If it had been a snarling beast, fanged and dripping, maybe my mind could have accepted it. But it looked almost human. Almost. The head was too long, stretched the way reflections warp in funhouse mirrors. Its skin sagged like damp paper, grayish and thin enough that I could see faint blue veins webbing beneath. Its eyes were the worst. Two pale circles, milky and unfocused, like they didn't belong to a living thing. It stopped only a few paces away, its mouth slightly open, as though trying to remember how breath worked. I froze. Its body twitched, spine bending at angles that made my stomach turn. It jerked forward once, then suddenly went still, staring straight through me. I couldn't move, couldn't scream. All I felt was a thick, airless pressure that told me I shouldn't be there. Then, Mara, I croaked, because part of me, some desperate part, still hoped it was her. The creature responded, not with speech, but with a sound like wind scraping glass. Its mouth widened, and I saw teeth, small, brittle, too many. That broke me loose. I ran. My shoulder hit the aisle end with enough force to rattle the shelves. Old cans fell, bursting blackened contents across the floor. I sprinted to the front door, slamming into it. The bell jangled, an ugly metallic shriek. Evan stood outside, eyes wide. What the hell? Where's Mara? I scrambled out, almost collapsing on the pavement. Something's inside. He looked past me. The store was empty. Nothing moved. The aisle where that thing had stood was bare, as if nothing had ever occupied the space. I saw her go in, I gasped, and something else. Evan cursed. Mara! Hey! Mara! His voice echoed through the silent street. No answer. I backed away toward the pump. The woods beyond the road felt like they were watching. The shadows were too still. She's not in there, Evan muttered. We need to... The store door creaked. We turned. Mara stepped out. At first glance, she looked normal. Hair messy, backpack slung over one shoulder. But her expression was vacant, eyes glassy like she'd just woken from a deep sleep. What happened? Evan asked, grabbing her arm. She blinked slow. Found snacks. Her voice sounded wrong, flat and distant. She lifted two dusty plastic-wrapped cakes. The wrappers were yellowed, logos faded. "I called you," I said shakily. "I didn't hear." She brushed past us and slid into the car like nothing happened. Evan stared at me. "Maybe you imagined." "I didn't." He hesitated, then nodded. "Let's just go." The pump clicked. Tank full. We got in and shut the doors, all of us holding our breaths like the air outside was poison. Evan turned the key. The engine refused to catch. Once, twice, a third time. He swore, trying again. The headlights flickered. The radio came on by itself. No music, just static. I could almost hear words inside it, whispers threading through the noise. I covered my ears. "Shut off!" Evan yelled, slamming the button. The static didn't stop. In fact, it grew clearer. A voice emerged. "Still in the store?" Mara's head jerked. Her eyes rolled upward, only whites showing for a second. Then she leaned forward and switched the radio off manually. Silence. Evan tried the ignition again. The engine roared to life. He didn't waste a second, threw it into reverse, tires spitting gravel, then peeled onto the road. I watched the gas station shrink in the side mirror, then vanish around the bend like it had never existed. My hands shook uncontrollably. No one spoke for a long time. The trees blurred by. The road unspooled endlessly ahead. Finally, Evan said, "Mara, are you okay?" She nodded slowly. "Just tired." "What happened in there?" I asked. "I told you," she said, voice dull. "Found snacks." She opened one of the dusty cakes and took a bite. The crinkle of the wrapper sounded too loud. The cake looked stale, almost gray. "Don't eat that," I whispered. She ignored me. Evan looked at her in the mirror. "You were gone for like 15 minutes. "No, I wasn't." Her tone sharpened, angry. Something was wrong. I leaned forward, voice low. There was someone or something else in there. I saw it. Mara didn't react. She just chewed slowly, staring straight ahead. Evan tried to calm me. "Maybe stress." "No." I gripped the back of his seat. It was real. But he didn't argue further. He was scared. I could tell. The sky outside darkened to a bruised purple, even though it was only mid-afternoon. The temperature dropped. I rubbed my arms, teeth chattering. We drove for at least another hour, but the scenery never changed. Just the same stretch of trees, same bend every few minutes. No towns, no signs, no cars. Finally, I said what we were all thinking. "This road isn't letting us leave." Evan's knuckles whitened on the wheel. "There has to be an exit." "There hasn't been anything." My voice cracked. "Guys," Mara whispered. We turned. She pointed out the window. Up ahead stood a figure on the shoulder of the road. At first it looked like a person, tall, still, head tilted. But as we got closer, I realized it was wearing the same clothes as the thing in the store, the same stretched shape, the same pale stare. "Don't stop," I hissed. Evan pressed the gas. The car sped up. The figure didn't move. It just watched. As we passed, its head rotated. Too far, too smoothly, following us. Its mouth split in a slow grin. "Go!" I shouted. Evan floored it. The trees blurred into a smear of dark green. For a moment, I thought we'd outrun it. Then, a shape stood farther up the road. Another, and another. Dozens, all lined along the shoulder, facing us. Their heads tilted, pale eyes gleaming like moons. Some were tall, some were small. Children, all motionless. My breath hitched. Mara whimpered. "Keep driving," I yelled. Evan didn't respond. His eyes were locked on the road, jaw clenched. The Explorer rattled as we sped through that nightmare corridor of not quite humans. They didn't reach out, didn't chase. They just watched. Then, a sign appeared ahead, identical to the one we'd seen earlier. Welcome to Osward, Pop, 643. The same town. We'd gone in a circle. No, Evan whispered. What do we do? Mara cried. I couldn't answer, because as we approached the sign, I saw something new. The number, Pop 643. It ticked, like a flip clock. 643, 644, 645 climbing, counting, increasing with every second we drove closer. I realized with a cold certainty, it wasn't just showing the town's population, it was counting us. Story 3, population increasing. The sign's numbers flicked upward. 645, 646, 647, climbing like the seconds of a clock. But it wasn't measuring time, it was counting lives. Drive around it, I shouted, but there was no around. The road funneled straight toward the sign like a throat narrowing to swallow us. Evan slowed, hands trembling on the steering wheel. We can't go back, he whispered. Then don't stop, Mara snapped. She sounded more alive suddenly. Too alive. There was a wild brightness in her eyes that hadn't been there before. The number kept climbing. 649, 650, 651. As we passed the sign, the count froze at 651. My stomach lurched. That's us, I whispered. 3 more than before. Evan's voice cracked. It's counting us. The town of Osward stretched before us again, but it wasn't the same. This time, lights glowed faintly in the windows of houses that had looked abandoned before. Shapes moved behind curtains. The gas station sign flickered like a heartbeat. Something in this place had woken up. We drove slowly down the main street. The road was cracked, but patches of fresh asphalt glistened like scars. Lampposts leaned crookedly, their bulbs sputtering a sickly orange. Then movement. Someone stepped onto the sidewalk. It wasn't like the pale creatures from before. This person almost looked normal. A heavy coat, worn boots, hair cut short. They raised a hand, trying to wave us down. Keep going, I said, but the stranger stepped into the road, forcing us to brake. Evan rolled down his window an inch. I wanted to yell at him to keep it shut, but the words caught in my throat. The stranger bent down. His face was human, lined with age, eyes haunted, but human. You shouldn't be here, he rasped. We're trying to leave, Evan said. The road? There's no road out, the man snapped. Not anymore. Mara leaned forward. What is this place? The man glanced around as if afraid of being overheard. Osward wasn't always like this. The road brought things here. They came in the night, took people. Then they made replacements. My arms prickled. Replacements? He nodded. Copies. Puppets. They look right from far away, but they're not human. You've seen them, the pale things. I felt sick. How do we leave? Evan asked. You can't. His voice trembled. None of us can. We're not staying, I snapped. The stranger's eyes flicked to Mara. His expression twisted with fear. You're already marked. Mara stiffened. What does that mean? She's eaten their food, he said. His eyes dropped to the half-eaten cake in her lap. Mara shrank back. It was just a snack. It was an invitation, he hissed. Now they know her. Now they can follow. Evan grabbed Mara's hand. Are you okay? I'm fine, she snapped, too sharply. Then softer. I'm fine. The stranger swallowed. If you want any chance, you need to talk to the keeper. The who? He's the only one who remembers the way out. His voice cracked. He lives at the far edge of town. Past the church, Evan put the car back in drive. Get in. Show us. The man shook his head violently. No, I won't go back there. I barely escaped. He pointed a trembling hand down the road. Follow that. When you reach the fork, go left. If you go right, it takes you somewhere worse. What's worse than this? I muttered. He didn't answer. He just backed away. Go, he whispered, before night finds you. Then he darted into an alley and vanished. Evan rolled the window up and hit the gas. The town grew narrower as we drove deeper, houses leaning close together, their roofs sagging like they were eavesdropping. The windows watched. I swear they watched. Mara kept staring straight ahead, silent. Evan gripped the wheel. You okay? She nodded. Just hungry. My stomach flipped. Don't eat anything here, I warned. She said nothing. The sky dimmed as clouds thickened. The streetlights buzzed, their glow barely more than candlelight. We reached the fork. The right path sloped downhill into darkness, swallowed by trees. The left path cut toward a lonely building on a hill. The keeper, Evan murmured. We turned left. The road narrowed, gravel replacing asphalt. The forest leaned close again, but these trees were wrong. They had no leaves, just black, skeletal branches clawing upward. The building came into view, a large, crumbling church. Its steeple was broken, jagged like a snapped bone. The stained glass windows were shattered, leaving empty holes. This place looks abandoned, I said. No, Mara whispered. He's here. Her voice was distant, dreamy. We parked. Evan reached for the keys. The engine died on its own. The headlights flickered, then extinguished. Darkness swallowed us. Mara, Evan whispered. She didn't answer. The door on her side opened, slowly with a creak like a sigh. Mara, we yelled together. She stepped outside, movement stiff, deliberate. She didn't look back. We scrambled out after her. The ground crunched under our shoes. The air smelled like damp stone and rot. Mara, stop, Evan called. She walked to the church doors, tall wooden slabs, splintered with age, and pushed them open. They groaned, echoing through the night. We followed. Inside, the church was cavernous. Shadows clung to every surface. Broken pews lay scattered, and the altar was draped in a tattered cloth. Candles burned along the walls, dozens of them, though no one else seemed present. Their flames sputtered but never died. Mara stood in the aisle, facing the altar, trembling. Then, a voice drifted from the darkness. You shouldn't have come. A figure stepped forward. A man, tall, gaunt, hair white as bone. His eyes were sharp, alert, unlike the pale things from before. He wore an old priest's coat, patched and fraying at the sleeves. You're the keeper? I asked. He nodded slowly. I keep what remains. Evan moved to shield Mara. What's happening to her? The keeper studied her with grim curiosity. She's eaten their food. Their touches on her, now Mara shuddered. I'm fine. Her voice warped for a moment, lower, layered, then snapped back. Evan recoiled. I felt my blood turn to ice. Can we get it out of her? I asked. No, the keeper said, but there may still be time to save you. Then tell us how to leave, Evan demanded. The keeper looked at us, expression haunted. You can't leave Osward. Something inside me snapped. That's what the man said in town. But there has to be a... You misunderstand, the keeper whispered. You can't leave. He stepped closer, and the candlelight carved deep shadows into his face. Because Osward is following you. The doors behind us slammed shut. Story 4. The Keeper's Warning. The church doors slammed behind us with such force that dust rained from the rafters. Evan tried the handle immediately. It didn't budge. We can't stay here, he hissed. The keeper raised a hand, not threateningly, but with a resigned calm. You must listen. If you run now, the road will take you. All of you. What does that mean? I demanded. He studied us with hollow eyes. Osward is not a place, not anymore. It is a hunger, a memory trying to stay alive. That doesn't make any sense, Evan snapped. We drove here. There's a road. The road is not a path, the keeper interrupted softly. It is a snare. Mara swayed where she stood, her breathing shallow. Evan grabbed her shoulders. Stay with me, Mara. Look at me. But Mara's pupils were blown wide, almost swallowing the color. She blinked slowly, then smiled, a smile too calm, too empty. It's okay, she whispered. They're waiting. Who? I asked. She didn't answer. The keeper approached her cautiously, like she was a wild animal. When she ate their food, he said, she took them into herself. Now there is a door in her mind. He closed his eyes. They are trying to open it. Mara giggled. My skin crawled. Evan pulled her closer. Fix her. The keeper gave him a sad look. I can't. She belongs to them now. No, Evan barked. No, she doesn't. The keeper sighed. Listen, you still have a chance, but it is narrow. Then tell us how to take it, I snapped. He gestured toward the altar. Come. We followed, though every part of me screamed not to. The altar cloth was stained, brownish black, brittle. Beneath it lay carvings etched into the stone surface, circles intersected by jagged lines, symbols that hurt to look at. They were not religious. What is this? I asked. The keeper whispered, the map. The lines seemed random at first, chaotic scratches. Then I realized it was the town, the long road in, the fork, the gas station, the church. Every part was there, etched so deeply the grooves might never wear away. There is only one way out, the keeper said, but the path changes, shifts. So how do we find it? Evan asked. You don't find it. You make it. I stared at the map. How? The keeper pointed to the center of the carving, a circle with no lines leading away. This is the heart of Osward, the place where it began, where it must end. Where is it? Evan asked. The keeper looked toward the shattered stained glass window at the back of the church. Beyond the wood, he said. My heart sank. No, that forest, that's where the things are. Yes, he said. They guard the heart. I felt the church tilt slightly, though I knew it hadn't moved, just my stomach. You said Osward follows us, I said. How? He stepped closer, voice low. Once the road finds you, it binds to your memory. It grows behind your thoughts, waiting. You carry it with you. And one day, when you are far from here, when your guard is down, you open the way. Without knowing it, I felt sick. He continued, every person who comes here brings Osward further into the world. Once it was just a small town. Now, he gestured around him. It stretches, spreads, searching for more. Why? I whispered. Because it is emptying. It needs new lives, new forms. Like the copies, I said. He nodded. They wear the shapes of what they consume. Evan clenched his fists. We're not staying here. We go through the woods, find the heart, and get out. The keeper hesitated. Once you go in, you must not look back, not even once. Why? Because the ones who look back become part of the road. Before I could ask more, Mara gasped. Evan caught her as she swayed. Her mouth opened, and a sound like wind rushing through stone spilled out. Her back arched. Her limbs went rigid. What's happening? Evan shouted. The keeper stepped away. They're trying to take her. Help her, Evan screamed. The keeper's jaw tightened. Hold her still. But before Evan could react, Mara jerked violently and collapsed onto the floor. Candles flickered madly, bending their flames toward her like drawn breath. Dark veins spread beneath her skin, black lines crawling from her neck to her jaw. I stumbled back, shaking. Mara, Evan whispered, voice broken. Please. Her eyes snapped open, all black, no whites, no pupils. She rose slowly, limbs wrong again, marionette-like. Evan stepped back in shock. Mara, he choked. The thing wearing her face smiled. Wide, too wide. "We know you," it whispered, but the voice was layered, dozens speaking at once. Evan froze. I dragged him back. The keeper seized a brass censer from the altar, its chain rusted, bowl-stained. He swung it hard, striking Mara across the temple. She stumbled but didn't fall. The keeper shouted, "Run!" We bolted down the aisle, the doors still sealed. "Get behind me!" the keeper yelled, voice cracking. Mara lunged at him, her body contorting midair. The keeper swung again, connecting with her shoulder. She fell to the ground, limbs snapping at awful angles, then twisted upright like a spider. I screamed. The keeper thrust a small object into my hands, a rusted key. "When you find the heart," he gasped, "use this." "What does it unlock?" I shouted. "You'll know." Mara screeched, high and jagged. The stained glass window burst inward behind us as if responding to her voice, shards raining down. The keeper shoved us toward it. "Go!" We crawled through the shattered window, glass biting into our hands. Outside, the night air hit with freezing force. Behind us, inside the church, a roar, a chorus of voices, the keeper screaming words I didn't recognize. Evan grabbed my arm. "Run!" We sprinted into the dead forest. The trees loomed overhead like black ribs. Branches clawed at our clothes. Behind us, silence. Then, a familiar voice. "Mara?" Evan froze. "No," I whispered. "That's not her." Evan trembled. "Mara!" The voice cried again, sounding broken, scared. He took a step back toward the church. I grabbed his wrist. "Don't listen. It's not her." His breath shook. But a second voice joined the first, then a third, then dozens, all crying his name. He clamped his hands over his ears and ran. We plunged deeper into the trees, darkness swallowing us whole. We didn't look back, but the voices followed, and the road followed too. I could feel it growing beneath the forest floor, alive. Story 5, the forest that breathes branches clawed at us as we ran, scraping at skin and clothing, as though the forest itself wanted to hold us back. Every tree trunk looked the same, tall, skeletal, bark pale as bone. The ground sloped unpredictably beneath our feet, soft in places like fresh earth, hard as stone in others. The voices behind us slowly faded, but the silence that replaced them was somehow worse, because in that silence I could hear the forest breathing, a slow, distant inhale, a low, rumbling exhale. Evan stumbled on a root and fell to his knees. I grabbed his arm, hauling him upright. "Keep moving," I whispered. He nodded, gasping. Sweat streaked his face despite the icy air. The trees thinned enough that moonlight spilled through, painting the forest floor in silver fragments. We slowed and pressed our backs to a trunk, straining to hear anything beyond our own ragged breaths. Nothing. Just the slow, crushing quiet. Evan ran his hand through his hair, trembling. "Mara. We left her." I swallowed hard. We didn't leave her. She wasn't her anymore. He pressed the heels of his palms to his eyes, fighting tears. She was still in there. She had to be. I didn't answer, because I didn't believe it. The thing in the church, whatever it was, it had taken her. The keeper was right. The food marked her, made a door, and something walked through. "We'll come back," I lied. "Once we find the heart, maybe we can save her." Evan nodded, though he didn't believe it either. We continued deeper into the woods, following instinct rather than direction. There were no signs, no markers, just endless black. After a while, the trees began to change. Their trunks grew thicker, smoother. Some twisted around each other like vines. Others bent horizontally, roots exposed like skeletal limbs reaching across the ground. The air grew warmer, damp. A faint sound echoed. dripping water. Evan paused. Maybe there's a stream. We followed the sound until we reached a low clearing. A narrow creek wound through, its water black as ink. Mist rose off it, shimmering like glass. I crouched and dipped my fingers into the water. Warm, too warm, like blood. I recoiled and wiped my hand on my shirt. Evan stared at the water, wide-eyed. What the hell is this place? Before I could answer, something splashed upstream. We froze. The splashing grew louder, closer, footsteps in water, slow, deliberate. Evan grabbed my arm, pulling me behind a fallen tree, half submerged in the black creek. We crouched low, barely breathing. The splashing stopped. A shape moved between the trees, a figure, human-shaped, too tall, too thin. Its limbs dangled, loose at the joints, its neck craned as if sniffing the air. I recognized it immediately, one of the things from the roadside, but this one was different, less fragile, more solid. Its pale skin glistened with the same black water. Its eyes were two white slits, shining with a faint inner light. It slowly waded through the creek, water parting around it without a ripple. It leaned forward, sniffing, searching. My heart slammed against my ribs. Evan pressed a hand to his mouth. The creature paused and tilted its head toward us. Its pale eyes stared. Then it smiled. My blood froze. The smile stretched impossibly wide, cracking skin at the corners. Black liquid dribbled from its lips and hit the water with soft hisses. It stepped out of the creek, right toward us. I grabbed Evan's hand and we bolted. Branches whipped our faces as we tore through the trees. Behind us, the thing crashed through the forest, moving with jerky precision, its limbs cracking like dry wood. "Don't look back," I gasped. Evan didn't. The ground sloped downward and we slid, crashing through undergrowth until we tumbled onto a wide, flat patch of dirt. A clearing. In the center stood a stone archway. It looked ancient, like a crumbling ruin. Moss crawled across its surface, glowing faintly. Evan scrambled to his feet. "Is that?" Before he could finish, a whisper drifted from the archway. "The heart." The keeper's words hit me like a blow. This was it, the heart of Osward, or the entrance to it. The arch pulsed, just once, like something behind it had a heartbeat. The forest went silent. Even our breathing seemed muted. I reached into my pocket and pulled out the rusted key the keeper gave me. Its metal was warm. Evan stared at the arch. "What if this is a trap? It's not like we have options." He looked back into the forest, shuddering. "Yeah, fair." I stepped toward the arch. The moss brightened. Then, hands burst from the dirt and grabbed my ankle. I screamed and fell. Evan lunged, trying to pry the hands off me. They were cold, bony, covered in black soil. More hands shot from the ground, clawing at my legs, arms, chest, pulling. "Evan!" I choked. He grabbed under my arms and pulled with all his strength. A pale face emerged from the dirt, eyes hollow, mouth open in a silent scream. Then another, and another. Dozens. The ground wasn't dirt. It was bodies, buried shallow, waiting. The hands tightened, dragging me toward the ground. The archway pulsed again, harder, the moss glowing brighter. The key in my hand burned. I screamed and thrust it toward the arch in desperation. The key ignited, white flame erupting from its tip. The ground shrieked. The hands recoiled, skin blistering. The pale faces sank into the earth, vanishing like melting wax. Evan dragged me back, panting. The flames on the key died instantly. Silence. Only my own heartbeat remained, rapid and uneven. Evan knelt beside me. "Are you hurt?" "No," I gasped, "but I think they guard the heart." He helped me up and we approached the arch again. This time, no hands reached out. The moss glowed bright. The space beneath the arch shimmered, not empty, but filled with a thick, moving darkness, like a doorway. "Where does it go?" Evan asked. I swallowed. "Only one way to find out." I held the key tight. Together we stepped through the arch. The world folded, and the road waited on the other side. Story 6, The Heart. It felt like falling. The moment we crossed the arch, the world inverted, light bending inward, air warping, the ground dissolving beneath our feet. A pressure clamped against my skull, squeezing thought into static. I couldn't breathe, couldn't scream. Then, we hit pavement, hard. I gasped, tasting blood. Evan landed beside me, coughing. The world around us slowly sharpened. First sound, then shapes, then color. We stood on a road. Not just any road. It was Highway 191 again. Only wrong. The asphalt stretched farther than sight, curving into a horizon of black sky. No sun, no moon, just a faint red glow bleeding through the darkness like dying embers. The forest was gone. The world was empty, just road and a blood-red sky. Evan rose unsteadily. "Where are we?" "The heart," I whispered. The keeper's warning echoed in my mind. "Osward follows you." Here, that felt literal. I could feel something beneath the road, breathing, slow and heavy. The asphalt shifted slightly like slick muscle layered under stone. Ahead, faint headlights flickered. A vehicle. We tensed. Could it be someone from outside? Someone lost like us? The headlights drew nearer. The engine rumbled low, steady. As it approached, the silhouette became clear. A car, an old silver Ford Explorer, Evan's uncle's car, our car, but it didn't slow. "Move!" I yelled. We dove to the side as the Explorer roared past, tires screaming against the road. I caught a glimpse inside. Us, me, Evan, Mara. In the front seat, Mara stared forward with those black eyes, hands folded calmly in her lap. The other me sat behind her, face slack, empty. The other Evan kept driving, unmoving, eyes pitch black. They didn't look at us, didn't react. They continued down the road, swallowed by the red haze. Evan trembled violently. "That wasn't... They weren't... They were copies," I whispered. "Replacements." He sank to the ground, burying his face in his hands. What if we're already dead?" I knelt beside him. "We're not dead." "How do you know?" I didn't, but I couldn't let him break. Not here. "We keep moving," I said. "We find whatever this place is hiding, and we end it." He wiped his face and nodded. Slow. We walked. The road stretched in complete silence. No wind, no sound. Our footsteps echoed like we weren't walking on pavement, but on a hollow shell. Every few minutes, the ground beneath us pulsed, like a heartbeat. Eventually, something appeared in the distance, a structure rising from the road. As we approached, I realized it wasn't a building. It was a town, a warped reflection of Osward. Streets twisted into spirals, houses bent as if made of softened bone, signs hung upside down, letters reversed, windows melted like wax, and at the center, a massive tree. Its trunk was black stone, veins of red pulsing beneath, its branches spread like roots clawing upward. The tree's crown pierced the sky, disappearing into darkness. "That's it," I whispered. "The heart." As if in response, the ground pulsed harder. We stepped into the twisted town square. The buildings leaned toward us, shadowed windows like watching eyes. Evan pointed to the tree. "There." We moved closer. Each step felt heavier, the road gripping our feet like tar. The air thickened, tasting like metal and rot. The ground trembled. Something moved between the houses. A figure, then another, then dozens. They emerged silently, pale bodies unfolding from the shadows, long limbs, stretched faces, black mouths hanging open. Some crawled on all fours, some dragged themselves upright, some shook violently, as if in mid-transformation. They formed a ring around the tree, swaying in slow, unnatural rhythm. "Don't stop," I whispered. We walked toward the tree. The creatures watched but didn't approach. Their pale eyes tracked us. At the base of the tree, a hollow opening yawned, wide enough to crawl through, lined with dark roots that pulsed like veins. Evan's voice shook. "We're going inside? There's no other way." We crouched. Just as we entered, a soft whisper drifted from behind us. "Don't go." We froze. The voice was familiar. "Mara." Evan turned. She stood alone just beyond the pale ring. Her eyes were normal, brown, human, her face streaked with tears. "Please," she begged, voice breaking. "Don't leave me here." Evan surged toward her, but I grabbed him. "No, it's not her," Mara sobbed. "Please, Evan, I'm scared." Her voice. It sounded real, too real. Evan struggled against me. "She's alive. She's still." "Mara is gone," I said, though my voice wavered. Her expression crumpled. "Why would you leave me?" she whispered. The ring of pale creatures slowly lowered their heads, like mourners, like witnesses. "Mara, stop," I said. She stepped closer. The shadows behind her clung to her skin, stretching like hands. "I don't want to be alone," she whispered. Then she smiled. The smile cracked her cheeks. Her eyes turned black. Evan screamed. The pale creatures lifted their heads in unison, mouths opening wide. A collective hiss poured out, yet none moved closer. Mara's neck jerked. Her limbs twisted, joints snapping. Her body stretched, too long, her arms dragging across the ground. "Go!" I yelled. Evan hesitated, sobbing. I grabbed him and shoved him into the hollow. The moment we crossed into the tree, darkness swallowed us. The air was wet. The hollow interior pulsed like a throat. Roots lined the walls, slick with red fluid. The floor was soft, springy. The smell, warm blood and rot, filled my lungs. We crawled through the tunnel. It grew narrower, then wider. The pulsing grew louder. A heartbeat, not mine, not Evan's. Something deeper. The tunnel opened into a cavern beneath the tree. Glowing red veins ran through the walls. Pools of black water dotted the floor, barely rippling. At the center of the cavern stood something. At first I thought it was a person. Then I realized it only wore a person's shape. It was tall, taller than any of the pale things, its body shrouded in black, root-like tendrils that pulsed. Its face was hidden, but a faint light glowed beneath the mass, like embers beneath ash. As we stepped forward, the figure turned. The roots peeled away from his face one by one, revealing Mara, not twisted, not broken, just Mara, whole, alive. She smiled. "You finally came." Behind me, Evan choked. "Mara?" She stepped toward us, the roots sliding across the floor like obedient serpents. Her eyes glowed faintly red, not black, but burning. "You brought the key," she said softly. My hand tightened around the rusted metal. Evan took a step forward. "Is it really you?" She nodded and tears streamed down her cheeks. "I'm so scared," but her voice was too calm, too measured. My skin crawled. "You shouldn't be here," she said, though her tone was gentle. "But now that you are," she reached out a hand, "you can finish what we started." The cavern trembled, the roots surged, and the heart awakened. Story 7. The Bargain. The cavern shook. The roots that clung to Mara's body, if it was Mara, writhed like living things, slithering across her skin and sinking into the ground. Evan stumbled backward, tears streaking his face. Mara, tell me it's really you. Her gaze softened. For a moment she looked like she had the day we left, smiling under a pale summer sky, hair blowing in the wind. Familiar, warm, human. It is me, she whispered, but I'm so much more now. The glow beneath her skin intensified until faint red veins shimmered beneath her flesh. This place, she said, doesn't take by force. Not always. Sometimes. It invites. Her eyes lifted, meeting mine. You accepted the invitation the moment you crossed into Osward. I tightened my grip on the rusted key. That wasn't a choice. She smiled sadly. It always is. Roots slithered across the floor, sensing us, tasting. The cavern pulsed again, slow, steady, like a heartbeat syncing with my own. Thud, thud, thud. Evan wiped his face. If you're really Mara, come with us. Let's go home. I am home, she whispered. Silence fell. I stepped between them. What do you want? Mara tilted her head, studying me with that soft, impossible smile. The road takes. The road gives. Osward needs a heart to continue. One that knows the way. She pointed to the key. That's why you're here. You carry the heart's memory, the map, the lock, the path. I don't understand. You will. She extended her hand again, palm up. Give me the key. I shook my head. No. Her expression flickered, something cold passing behind her eyes. Then the road will take from you instead. The cavern walls rippled. Roots tore free of the ceiling and plunged downward, slamming into the ground around us. I pulled Evan aside. Run! We sprinted across the uneven floor, slipping on wet stone. The cavern stretched before us, tunnels branching off in every direction like veins. Behind us, Mara's voice rang out, no longer gentle but layered with countless others. You cannot leave! Roots erupted, snaking toward us. One lashed around my ankle. I screamed, falling hard. Evan grabbed my arm, tugging, but another root coiled around his wrist. Mara! He yelled. Stop! She only watched, expression blank, eyes burning. I dug into my pocket, fingers brushing the key. The metal burned. I shouted through clenched teeth. Let us go! The key pulsed. Red light flared, searing my skin. The roots recoiled with a shriek like metal scraping bone. The key hurt them. I scrambled up, dragging Evan. The cavern twisted with every step. Tunnels split and rejoined like a labyrinth of living tissue. Left, Evan shouted. We veered, slipping through a narrow passage. Roots slammed shut behind us, sealing the way back. The walls pulsed faster now, the heartbeat accelerating. We ran until the cavern widened suddenly into a vast hollow. A pool of black liquid dominated the center, perfectly still. The air above it shimmered like heat rising from asphalt. Evan doubled over, gasping. What is this place? I stared at the pool. Its surface reflected nothing. Not the cavern, not us. Just blackness. Whispers brushed my ears, soft, rhythmic. I stepped closer. Words formed within the murmur. Come back. You never left. Home. A figure rippled across the pool's surface. Not mine. Mara. Her reflection smiled up at me. Evan grabbed my arm. Don't look. But the whispers grew louder, rising from 1,000 unseen mouths. It's waiting. It remembers. It wants you. I tore my gaze away. We keep moving. A tunnel at the far end of the cavern pulsed faintly. We headed toward it, slow, cautious. Halfway across the chamber, a low groan rolled beneath our feet. The ground cracked. Run! I shouted. The floor split open, roots unfurling like wings. They burst upward, coiling through the air like snakes. One slammed into my side, knocking me across the chamber. I hit the ground hard, vision blurring. Evan screamed. I blinked through the haze just in time to see a root wrap around his waist and drag him toward the pool. "No, Evan!" He clawed at the stone, fingers scraping raw. "I can't! Help me!" I stumbled to my feet, sprinted. The roots tightened, dragging him closer. I grabbed his arms. "I'm not letting go!" The pool hissed where his foot touched it, black tendrils rising, clinging like tar. Evan screamed, eyes wide with pure terror. "It's pulling me in!" The key vibrated in my pocket, hot, alive. I jammed it into the root wrapped around him. The cavern erupted in a deafening scream. Red light surged from the key, burning through the tendril. It snapped, spraying black fluid. Evan collapsed against me, sobbing. The pool boiled. Shapes rose beneath the surface. Pale human forms writhing, mouths open in silent screams. Their hands stretched upward, reaching for us. We ran. The tunnel ahead twisted downward. The sound of the pool's frenzy faded behind us, replaced by a low whispering wind. The walls tightened, pressing close like a throat swallowing. Finally, we spilled out into a smaller chamber. This one was silent. A stone platform rose at its center. Upon it rested a small wooden box, ancient, dark, carved with the same symbol burned into the key. The same symbol we saw on the town sign. Evan stared. "What is that?" I stepped forward slowly. The lock. The key pulsed in my hand, answering. I lifted the box. Immediately the cavern throbbed, hard enough to knock dust from the ceiling. The heartbeat quickened. The ground shuddered. Evan backed up. "Don't open it." "We don't have a choice." I placed the key into the box's keyhole. It slid in effortlessly, as if it had been waiting all along. I hesitated, until... Mara whispered behind me. I spun. She stood at the entrance to the chamber. Her face was calm, her eyes burning. The roots around her writhed silently. "You'll free us," she said, "or you'll replace us." Her gaze flicked to Evan. "He's weak. The road wants him." Evan pressed against the wall, shaking. Mara stepped closer. "You can save him. Save yourself. Just turn the key." "And then what?" I demanded. She smiled. "The road ends." I looked at Evan, broken, terrified. The box pulsed faintly, waiting. I closed my hand around the key and turned. Click. The heartbeat stopped. The cavern exhaled. Mara's smile widened. Then everything went black. Story 8. The road's last turn silence. A silence so complete I thought I'd gone deaf. No heartbeat, no whispers, no distant churning beneath the earth. Just black. I wasn't standing anymore. I was floating. A weight pressed against my chest. Not heavy, not painful, just present, like a hand resting there. My eyelids fluttered. A pale gray morning sky swam into view. I was lying in the middle of a road. Highway asphalt, cracked, real, familiar. Not the pulsing, living flesh from beneath the tree. The air smelled of pine. Birds chirped. Wind moved. Normal. I bolted upright. I sat on the faded yellow dividing line of a 2-lane road, cutting through dense, ordinary forest. The sky was overcast, but the red glow of Osward's heart was gone. I looked around, numb. "Evan," I rasped. No answer. My throat tightened. "Evan!" I pushed to my feet, wobbling. My head rang like a struck bell. No sign of him, no cavern, no Mara, no twisted town. Nothing. Just road. I turned in every direction. The world was wrong in its familiarity. Finally, far down the road, I spotted a shape. A lone gas station. For a moment, terror seized me. Osward Station. But this one was newer, literally, clean. A real road sign perched near it. Willow Creek, 12 miles. Willow Creek was a real town. We had passed it on the map days ago. Before all of that, my breath shuddered. Reality. Finally. I forced my legs forward. My joints ached. My clothes were torn, smeared with black and red stains I didn't want to identify. When I reached the gas station, I nearly collapsed against the glass door before dragging myself inside. Fluorescent lights hummed, shelves of snacks, a soda machine. A real living person stood behind the counter, a middle-aged clerk with thick glasses and a flannel shirt. He stared as I stumbled inside. "Son, are you all right?" I tried to speak. Nothing came out. He grabbed a bottle of water, twisted it open, and handed it to me. I gulped it down without breathing. "You need me to call somebody?" he asked. "My friend," I managed. "Evan, we got separated." "Where?" the man asked. I hesitated. How could I explain? "We were driving. We got lost. Somewhere off Highway 191. The clerk froze. Slow. Controlled. "Say that again." "Highway 191, I repeated. He swallowed. "There isn't a 191 around here. Closest is 50 miles east." I shook my head. "I was just there. My voice broke. The clerk exhaled hard and ran a hand across his face. "Let me call the sheriff." The sheriff arrived 20 minutes later, a heavy-set woman with sharp eyes, short hair, and a tone that told me she'd seen too much in her life to be easily rattled. She ushered me into her SUV and asked me to start from the beginning. I tried. I told her about the GPS glitching, the wooden town sign, the old gas station, the store, the figure I saw, Mara's disappearance, the keeper, the tree. Somewhere along the line, her expression went from cautious to tight disbelief. When I finished, she was quiet for a long time. "What's your full name?" she asked. I told her. She tapped it into her onboard laptop. A few seconds later, her brow furrowed. "You were reported missing," she said, 4 days ago." My blood froze. 4? I thought only a night had passed. 2 at most. But 4 days. "What about Evan?" I whispered. "And Mara?" She typed in their names. She blinked. "They were both reported missing as well." Pause. "And their vehicle was found." My heartbeat stuttered. "Where?" "About a mile north of Willow Creek." A mile. We had walked the wrong way. She hesitated. "And no one was inside." I stared. "No bodies?" "No." Relief and horror twisted inside me. They could still be alive. Or the sheriff drove us toward where the Explorer had been found. The road looked ordinary. Trees, guardrails, sunlight, normal. After 10 minutes, she slowed near a small turnout. Yellow police tape drooped from tree to tree. The Explorer was nowhere in sight. "Already towed," she said. But the tire marks remained, cutting into the soft dirt at the road's edge. One of the patrol deputies waited there. As soon as we stepped out, the sheriff's radio crackled. She turned away to answer it, leaving me with the deputy, a tall man with a mustache and nervous eyes. I stared at the dirt. Something glinted. I crouched. A key, rust-stained. My breath caught. The same shape, the same weight. The heart's key. My hand trembled as I picked it up. The metal felt cold, lifeless, dead. The deputy frowned. "You dropped something?" "No," I whispered. I slipped it into my pocket. The sheriff finished her call and returned, expression pinched. "That was dispatch," she said. "They have a lead. A hiker claims he saw someone matching your friend's description." "Evan?" I gasped. "Where?" "A few miles west of town." He was alone. Disoriented relief nearly knocked me over. They loaded me back into the SUV. We drove. My knee bounced the entire time. When we arrived, emergency personnel were already there, surrounding a wrapped figure on the back of an ambulance. A paramedic stepped back, revealing a pale, shaking young man covered in cuts and dirt. "Evan." He looked up as I stumbled forward. Our eyes met. He went rigid. Then, slowly, he shook his head, back and forth, violent. No, he whispered. No, 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 no. It's me, I said, voice breaking. We made it out, he screamed. I froze. He scrambled backward, eyes wide with terror. They didn't let you leave. What? You're not him, Evan cried. You stayed behind. I saw you. I saw you. The sheriff grabbed his arms, trying to calm him, but he thrashed like a trapped animal. You didn't come out of the tree, he sobbed. You never came out. My stomach twisted. I'm here, I whispered. I'm real. He only sobbed harder, wordless, terrified. They sedated him, loaded him into the ambulance, drove away, leaving me standing alone on the roadside, the sheriff watching me with wary eyes. What exactly happened in that town? She asked softly. I couldn't answer. I didn't know anymore. All I knew, Evan believed I wasn't me, and the worst part, I wasn't entirely sure he was wrong. They kept me in the police station for hours. Questions, paperwork, statements, a call to my parents. Eventually, they put me in a motel under supervision. The sheriff promised to find Mara, said rescue teams would search the woods. But I knew they wouldn't find her. Not here, not in this world. I showered, scrubbed until my skin burned. When I stepped out, the rusted key lay on the motel nightstand. I hadn't put it there. I stared at it for a long, long time. Finally, I picked it up. The metal pulsed, a faint, slow heartbeat. Thud. Thud. My breath caught. I flung the key into the trash, turned off the light, lay in bed. Eventually, I slept. In the middle of the night, something woke me. A car engine. Slow. Rolling. Down the motel lot outside. I sat up, heart pounding. Headlights glowed through the curtain. Bright, pale, familiar. The engine idled. Low, steady. I moved to the window and pulled the curtain aside. A silver Ford Explorer sat beneath the street lamp. Our car. My breath froze. 3 silhouettes sat inside. Driver, passenger, back seat, still, silent. The figure in the driver's seat slowly turned its head toward my window. Black eyes, the engine revved. Then the car backed away, rolled down the street, disappeared into the dark. I stood there long after it was gone. A soft, rhythmic sound filled the silence. Thud, thud, thud. I turned. The motel trash bin rattled. Inside, the rusted key pulsed with red light. Waiting, inviting. Some roads don't end. They wait. And somewhere, out beyond the woods, beneath the black sky, inside the endless heart, Osward still follows. Because the road never ended. It only changed directions. And now, it remembers me.